Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear students in grade 9, today inshallah we will start and study chapter 10 of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, second term 2022. Let's start. The title of that chapter is Sound Medical Advice. Let's start with the summary. At Lucy's wedding, Dr. Mannett's face appeared happy, although his face was covered with deadly fear when he met Charles earlier that morning, because he revealed his real identity, that he is related to Evermond family. After Charles and Lucy had left for their honeymoon, Mr. Lorry saw that same fear return to Doctor's face. Shortly after the doctor went to his room to rest, Miss Pross heard a low sound of hammering. She rushed into the doctor's room, then came out crying to Mr. Lorry, "All is lost. He doesn't know who I am, and he's gone back to making shoes." For 9 days, the doctor was again a showmaker, and for the first time in his life, Jervis Lorry took time off from Tellson's bank to help Miss Pross bring the doctor's mind back. As you know, now Dr. Mannett is living alone after his daughter's marriage to Charles Darnley. On the 10th day, however, Mr. Lorry found the showmaker's bench up aside and the doctor in his reading chair. That means that he began to recover. Mr. Lorry discusses the doctor's case with him. Mr. Lorry is going to have or to make a trick that he will pretend that he has a friend. He has the same case that Dr. Mannett is suffering, that he had a past, a very bad past, and he was suffering from the memory of that past suffering. Mr. Lorry pretended he needed medical advice for a friend of his, but in fact he was talking about the doctor's case. Mr. Lorry was trying to awaken his friend's mind and let him know about his problem. After Mr. Lorry had explained the case to his assumed friend, صديقه المزعوم, Dr. Mannett said, "I believe something caused your friend to remember the circumstances that led to the first instance of his strange behavior." Mr. Lorry asked Dr. Mannett if they should take away the tools of that friend so that he might not relapse again, and Dr. Mannett agreed. That meant that he took approval from the doctor to get rid of the show-making tools. When Dr. Mannett was finally strong enough to go out, Mr. Lorry and Miss Pross went into his room and destroyed the showmaker's tools. Lucy and Darnley came back. The first person who came to visit Lucy and Darnley after they had come back was Sidney Carton. He wanted to be a friend to the family and the permission to visit them often. Lucy and Darnley agreed to accept him as a friend. Lucy pitied his condition and said, "His heart is bleeding and we must be kind to him. He's capable of gentle things, good things, and even great things." After some years, Lucy gave birth to a little girl, Sydney, and she was called also Lucy or Little Lucy. Sydney visited the family often and brought little Lucy gifts and played with her for hours. During these visits, Carton never smelled from wine. On one of the hot nights of July 1789, little Lucy was 6 years old, and Mr. Lorry came with the news that the revolution had broken out in France. الثورة بدأت في فرنسا. Now let's start, my dear students, with questions and answers. Take care of these questions, please. Why did Mr. Lorry take time off the bank for the first time in his life, and what does this show about his character? Mr. Lorry took some time off the bank for the first time in his life to help Miss Pross bring the doctor back to his mind. This shows that he is a devoted friend or a loyal friend, صديق مخلص. Why did Dr. Mannett relapse in harm and became a showmaker once more? Give 2 reasons. It was a shock for him to know that Charles Dickens was the son of the Marquis Saint-Evremond, and it was a shock for him to be departed from Lucy once more. So I want you to take care of that questions, my dear students. Why did Dr. Mannett relapse and became a showmaker once more? Give 2 reasons. The first reason, it was a shock for him to know that Charles Dickens was the son of the Marquis Saint-Evremond. The second reason, it was a shock for him to be departed from Lucy once more. Why did Mr. Lorry pretend? What did Mr. Lorry pretend and why? ادعى ماذا ادعى? He pretended he needed some medical advice for a friend of his. He did so to awaken the doctor's mind and let him know about his problem. What was Dr. Mannett's opinion about the case of Mr. Lorry's friend? He believes that he relapses when he remembers his first suffering and the reasons that led to that suffering والأسباب التي وصلته لهذه المعاناة. For his sake and the sake of his daughter, I beg your help. Comment. Of course, these words were said by Mr. Lorry. Mr. Lorry said this to Dr. Mannett. He pretended he needed some advice for, of course, medical advice for a friend of his, but in fact, he was discussing the doctor's case in order to help him understand his problem when he is out of his mind. His daughter or even someone else might have said or done something to make him remember events that happened before his first period of suffering. Comment. Dr. Mannett said this to Mr. Lorry, who was trying to awaken the doctor's mind about his problem. The doctor believed that such cases of relapse only occur when that friend remembers his old suffering. عندما يتذكر أيام المعاناة في الماضي. But doesn't keeping the forge and tools, of course the forge and the tools, when he was talking about the blacksmith or the assumed friend, he said that I have a friend that he was working as a blacksmith. And tools make him think that all the more about that awful past. If they were gone, wouldn't his fear go to? Comment. Mr. Lorry said this to Dr. Mannett while he was discussing the case of his assumed friend. Mr. Lorry wanted to know what would happen to the doctor if they destroyed his show-making tools so as to help him not remember his days of suffering. His heart is bleeding. This is a very important quotation, and I want you to take care of this quotation, my dear students. His quotation, his part is bleeding. We must be kind to him. He's capable of gentle things, good things, even great things. Great things here that we will see later that he would sacrifice his life to save the life of her beloved Charles Darnley. Lucy said this to her husband. She was asking him to show more kindness to Mr. Carton, reminding him that he was weak in his misery and they were strong in their happiness together. Question number 9. In her name, for her sake, meant here, for her sake, then let it be done. What do you mean by that quotation, let it be done? That means let them get rid of the tools that would remind him of his past suffering. Who said this to whom? Dr. Mannett said this to Mr. Lorry. Who is meant by in her name? In her name for her sake. Lucy, the daughter of Mr. Lorry's friend. What were they speaking about? They were discussing what would happen if they took away the tools of Mr. Lorry's disturbed friend. That meant that they took approval from the doctor to get rid of the show-making tools. What's meant by let it be done? Let it be done means, okay, take away the tools for the sake of that friend's daughter. And now, my dear students, we will watch a short part of the movie that will support that chapter. Let's see.
Dominus vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Oremus. Respice quesumus Domini.
Oh, bless me, bless me. Dear God, I don't know what to do.
Calm yourself, Miss Bratz, calm yourself.
He doesn't know me. Dr. Mannett doesn't know me.
What are you talking about?
Come with me, please.
As you see, Dr. Mannett relapsed and he began to be a showmaker again.
My dear friend, Dr. Mannett, look at me, please. Sir, this is not your proper occupation. Think, my dear friend, think.
From the past. It was
Now,
strong, intense, and lurking in the mind.
Is it likely to happen again?
Oh, no.
That is good comfort, sir. And yet...
Yes?
This occupation, during the affliction, this making of shoes, if perhaps the necessary tools could be... Well, if they were gone, could not the fear go with them?
They are old companions.
I know. I know.
now Mr. Lorry is talking about
But I
his
inquire for your
friend.
daughter's sake as well. Can it not be done?
Now they are destroying the tools. Now As you see, London, 5 years
Forgive me,
later.
Charles, but, oh, really, I can't understand it. How they're scoundrels, absolute scoundrels. Forgive me, Charles. I can only thank God that I'm not French.
Things will settle down eventually.
Eventually? Oh, eventually. They've had years now, and it's worse than ever. It's more than your life's worth to set foot in the damn country.
Where is she? Did you see her? Did she come by this way?
I thought the child was with you, Miss Pross.
She took a biscuit and she ran away.
Oh.
It's time, I think, to apply the paddle.
Now, as you see, little Lucy
Not
became
guilty.
5
Who
or
took the
6
biscuit?
years.
I am the counsel for this beautiful creature, and I say to the court that she is not guilty.
Who took the biscuit?
I did.
You are a gentleman, sir, but you are also a liar.
Come, little one, change horses.
Father,
It's time to take your afternoon nap.
no.
Mwah.
Goodbye, Mr. Carter.
Well, that's an excellent suggestion, if I ever heard one. What do you say, Mr. Lorry?
I'm at your service.
If you will excuse us, my dear.
Now you see the meeting between Lucy Mannett and Sidney Carton. She would like to talk to him that if he would
You
be
know, I
better.
don't think I've ever told you how much I appreciate these visits with your family.
We enjoy them too, Mr. Carton. Indeed, you are like a part of the family to us. I worry about you, you know. You're looking so pale these days.
Indeed. Well, the life I...
As you see, my dear students, that's enough for that. Let's go to the chapter again, and I want you to study these questions very well, and till we meet again in chapter 11, inshallah, we will see the title of the chapter 11. It's one of the important, the revolution erupts. Till we meet again, thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.